everybody, Crystal Beaudry here with Crystal's Clean Kitchen, where we help make clean eating a lifestyle. So we have been on a cottage cheese trend for probably about a year, off and on different cottage cheese recipes, and I have an amazing cottage cheese breakfast idea for you today. We're going to be making an apple cinnamon breakfast cake. Now it's kind of like a bar or a cake type texture, but you guys, it is so amazing. You're going to love this, and it is the perfect thing for you and your family. You can make this, you can have some for another day, but you guys, you're going to love this. Now, the benefit of this recipe is that it's low carb friendly, it's keto approved, and of course, it's packed with protein. Thank you so much for watching. Before we get into it though, would you do me a huge favor and hit that like button? We're going to be starting with 1 cup of cottage cheese. Now you want to make sure that whatever cottage cheese you choose, that it is I like to do the full fat cottage cheese. And also you want to make sure that it's not super liquidy. If it has a ton of liquid in it, then you're going to need to take a cheesecloth and strain it out a little bit because we don't want too much liquid in this. Then we're going to do 2 eggs, 3/4 of a cup of some almond flour. Now I got that from Costco. It's the Costco brand Kirkland. Then we'll be doing 1 teaspoon of some cinnamon. Now you could add a little nutmeg in it if you want. Now this mixture that I have right here is my pumpkin pie spice. You could totally add that if you preferred as well. I have it pre-mixed. We'll be doing 2 to 3 tablespoons of sweetener. You can choose any sweetener that you prefer. So if you want to do a low carb sweetener, you could do the monk fruit erythritol blend that I have. You could also use allulose. You could use honey or maple syrup if you don't want to keep this low carb friendly. So any other type of sweetener that you prefer, it will all work. Then we'll be doing 1 teaspoon of some vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of some baking powder. Now I make my own baking powder. I have a short recipe for it on my channel, but it's basically like grain-free, which a lot of baking powders have corn in it. So if you want to stay away from corn in your baking powder, then making your own is incredibly easy. It just takes a couple of seconds to whip up, and then I just keep it in a container and use it for all of my recipes. A pinch of some salt. I love Celtic sea salt because it has 82 essential minerals in it. 1/3 to 1/2 of an apple. Now, the more apple you do, the more carbs that it is, so just kind of keep that in mind. It will still taste delicious if you use less amount of apple. All right, let's whip this up. First, I'm going to be adding my 1 cup of cottage cheese to a blender, then my 2 eggs, and my 1 teaspoon of some vanilla. Now I'm going to blend this for a little bit first to make sure that some of the cottage cheese curds are a little bit smoother. Then I'm going to be adding in my baking powder and my cinnamon and my pinch of salt. Also going to be adding in my sweetener. I'm going to just do 2 tablespoons. Okay, so before I add the almond flour, I'm going to blend this up and then I'm going to transfer it to a bowl, and I'm going to just mix in the almond flour just so that it doesn't get too thick in my blender. All right, so I've transferred it into a bowl. I can add in my almond flour, but first I'm going to be chopping up my apple. Now I actually this apple is a little bit bigger, so I went with 1/4 of an apple. But again, depending upon the amount of carbs that you want in this, you can be the judge of that yourself. But I think even just this 1/4 of an apple looks delicious, and I'm going to be cutting it really, really fine so that I'm kind of spreading the flavor out more. Now, if you're saying, you know, I really don't want to put all of those carbs in with the apple, another thing that you could do, they do have something called apple extract so that you get the flavor of the apple in your food without actually adding the carbs. That's an option as well. Now for me personally, I don't mind having a little carb in there. And I also love that this is very seasonal. Okay, so now notice how finely chopped that is. I'm going to be adding that in there. And that was 1/4 of an apple. That's quite a lot. My almond flour, and then I'm just going to be stirring this together. Now, when we are going to be putting this in a ramekin to bake, just kind of look around your house to see what size of ramekins that you have, or if you want to do a little small pan, you can do that. If you're noticing that your batter is too liquidy, feel free to add in a little bit more almond flour. As I mentioned before, with the different cottage cheese mixtures, it's just sometimes a different texture with the different brands of cottage cheese. Some of them just have more liquid. So in case you didn't squeeze out your cottage cheese and it's a little too liquidy, another sub that you could do is just add a little bit more almond flour. Okay, so I grabbed a little small baking dish. This is, I don't even know what size it is because it doesn't say. So grab whatever size you want. I'm going to just put a little butter on the bottom. I will be adding this into my pan. And if you wanted to do this in a couple of smaller ramekin dishes, you certainly could. That way you could bake it separate days if you want. All right, now I'm going to be putting it in the oven for about 25 minutes at 350 degrees. You want to make sure that it's set in the middle. So when you take it out, make sure to be putting in a toothpick or a little fork just to see if the inside is set. We are going to be serving ourselves one of these pieces. There we go. Here you go. Now you can also drizzle it with a little bit of some keto maple syrup. This is the perfect breakfast. All right, let's give it a taste test. Oh, I am so excited to do this taste test. Now I did put on some maple syrup on it. Oh, wow. This is really good. Now, I love that it has all of those fall flavors in it. Oh my goodness, this is so good, you guys. Now, I love that the cake is nice and soft. It's moist. This is the perfect breakfast. You know, a lot of times I eat eggs or eggs and cottage cheese for breakfast to get a ton of protein. This still has a little egg in it, still has cottage cheese in it, and it's packed with protein, and I love that. It is the perfect breakfast alternative if you don't want to just eat eggs yet again for another day. Ugh, I love it. Now, of course, this would still be good after supper for a little sweet treat. The amount of apple that I put in here, I thought was really, really good. I put about 1/4 of an apple. Now, my apple was a little bit bigger, so maybe just be mindful of that, whatever you think. I love that this is more than one serving. And of course, like I said, packed with protein. So you guys, everything that you should be doing should be focusing on your protein goals. And of course, this is still low carb friendly. So I know that I'm not eating a bunch of bad ingredients that will derail me from my goals. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now stay tuned because we have a ton more cottage cheese recipes coming your way. And of course, for Christmas time, we have a lot of cookie and bars and stuff for Christmas. You're not going to want to miss that either. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.